And those were some great pronunciations, so compliments for that. Let's see if I can share everything. Yes. So if everything just went well, you can see my slides now.
Everything looks good.
All right, so I'll just get going on with this. So thank you for the kind words, the lovely introduction. Today I'll be showing the latest insights from the first Prospective Kleefstra Syndrome natural history study that we performed, which is also part of my my thesis called Mapping and Tackling the Disordered Brain in Kleefstra Syndrome. I currently work as a physician here in the Netherlands, in the sort of southeastern part at Dichterbij, which is a healthcare facility specialized for people with intellectual disabilities. And I have also this specialization for an ID physician over here that I'm sort of just in my first couple of months now. I have to do another 2.5 years of extra training to sort of complete the whole training. But that's not the point of this presentation. The point of this presentation is more of the psychopathology in Kleefstra syndrome. I'll be starting off with the thesis of Carlijn Vermeulen. Then I'll move on to the regressive symptoms, the research that I've been doing the last couple of years regarding natural history studies, the methods that we use, and the results coming from those. And to start off, we based this work on the thesis of Carlijn Vermeulen, who's a children's and youth psychiatrist here in the Netherlands. And she wrote a thesis on psychiatry and neurocognition in genetic developmental disorders with Kleefstra syndrome as the sort of main focus. And what she saw is one of those things when, if you look at this bar chart on the left, you see in the bar chart regarding Kleefstra syndrome that there is a high cumulative lifetime prevalence of all kinds of psychiatric problems. These include sleep problems, regression, you know this of course, and psychotic disorders. And the main focus of my studies of this presentation will be on regression and psychotic disorders. Regressive symptoms, we've all heard about them. I will just run through them quickly. We see them in Kleefstra syndrome as them being a loss of skills, like behavioral changes like aggression, loss of interest or social avoidance, and psychotic symptoms may occur as well in these episodes of regression. And the main difficulty in this part is that these psychotic symptoms they present differently than most physicians are used to. So we see more aggression, more mood disorders, instead of sort of the typical hallucinations that we that psychiatrists see in people without intellectual disabilities. So this is a quite interesting part of the Kleefstra syndrome or psychotic problems within the ID population as well. And what Carlijn Vermeulen also said, found out during her studies, is that a loss of sleep, which has been mentioned before, is can be seen as a precursor for this severe regression that may occur. And what she also stated is, in the case of a loss of sleep or this severe regression, there is a rapid need for pharmacological treatment. These regressive symptoms, they mostly occur during puberty. They often occur after some sort of observed stressor, like the death of a family member, a somatic illness, or moving to a new home or school. These things can also be very stressful to us, but imagine them, they can be very stressful to people with a more vulnerable brain. And initially, we said, well, the amount of people experiencing these regressive symptoms will be about a third, 30% to 50%. But this number seems to be a bit dated. I will go back to that in a couple of slides. So, summarizing these regressive symptoms, the diagnosis is often missed because they present differently than most people are used to. And, well, we see that there is a need for treatment, and they're quite hard to treat as well. In a very interesting presentation, 2 presentations ago there was a quite interesting summary of all the psychiatric other pharmaceuticals that can be used, well, I will be focusing mainly on the olanzapine. Studies objectives of us were to understand the natural history, of course, and the developmental regression of Kleefstra syndrome, but secondly, also to investigate the effectiveness of olanzapine on an individual level. And we ask ourselves the question, is there any benefit from an early detection and subsequent treatment of olanzapine? We set out with a test battery to compile all kinds of questionnaires and neuropsych tests. I will not bother you with the neuropsych test, but I will mention the Define and See and the ABAS-3, which we used as questionnaires in which we assessed communication skills, daily living skills, and also social skills. And together we call these adaptive functioning. And adaptive functioning is the main outcome of our studies. Within the test battery, we asked questions like, does the person know the meaning of at least 10 words? Is the person able to eat with a spoon? Or does he or she express two or more recognizable emotions? Just to for you to get an idea of what all kinds of assessments we did. This was the setup. So this is the Netherlands. This is my car. And we included people with Kleefstra syndrome age 12 or older, because we see that the regressive symptoms are mainly from the age of 12, and we hope to gather as much information on that period. So I drove across the Netherlands to assess all those people. And of course, we had a very fruitful collaboration with people in Boston Children's Hospital and in the United States. And people all over the United States came to Boston to get their assessments done as well. Moving on to the results of these assessments. Well, in the end, we included 53 people with Kleefstra syndrome. Around 2/3 were female, around 1/3 male, and 1/3 had the deletion of the 9q34.3 region, and around 16 people in the end received pharmacological treatment with olanzapine. And regarding adaptive functioning, we see a couple of things which are interesting. The United States, the cohort from the United States function on a higher level than those of the Netherlands. We see that the females function on a higher level than the males, and that people who have the EHMT1 pathogenic variant are on a higher level of adaptive functioning than the 9q34.3 deletion. This last fact was alluded to before. This is now quite known in this case. Now, coming back to the graph I showed you earlier by Carlijn van Meulen, she had this graph of the Kleefstra syndrome cohort. Well, we had we have a bigger cohort, and we have more data to play with. So what we did was we checked the psychiatric comorbidities of the cohort, and we put them into 3 age categories. From age 12 to 20, 21 to 30, and 31 and beyond. And what we see here we can put mainly 2 conclusions from this. One is that puberty, sort of the age from 12 to 20, can be quite a critical period, because we see quite a high level of health problems, of mental health problems in that category. And that over time, we see that psychiatric issues seem to diminish. So that's positive news in this case. And we ask ourselves the question: how often does this loss of skills, this regressive period, happen in Kleefstra syndrome? As I told you before, it was earlier estimated around 30 to 50%. Well, if you look at this graph, also we split the cohort here also into those 3 age categories. We see that in the end, the people age 31 or older, we asked everybody if they had a history of psychotic or regressive symptoms, and well, almost everybody age 31 or older had one of those episodes. This is quite interesting to see. So almost everyone experienced some form of regression, but also important to note, and this is not shown here, we see that the severity of this psychotic episode, this regressive period, seems to differ from person to person. So a tailor-made approach is, of course, very helpful in this case. And then we think, why does this developmental regression happen to so many people in our cohort? Is it because this is just a natural decline that happens to all of us? It seems quite severe for that. Is this the developmental regression that's just typical for Kleefstra syndrome? Is this a combination of the two? Is there sort of a lack of substantial backing, just to help for those people, or is there something else going on here? We don't know as of yet the exact answer to this, and of course, more research remains to be done. And regarding the developmental regression and the psychotic episodes, well, help is underway, as we saw regarding the effectiveness of olanzapine in these individuals. We did this study on the individual follow-up with medication, specifically olanzapine. We also used clozapine in some specific cases. But we saw you have these lovely line graphs over here of 16 individuals, and actually from the 16 individuals who received olanzapine treatment, we saw that 10 exhibited a beneficial response based on improvement of their adaptive functioning. That's important to note here. And 4 of them showed temporary improvement. In the end, if we look to psychosis and treatment, these are also the recommendations from Caroline Vermeulen. We see that the first choice medicine in this case still seems to be olanzapine, but it does not work in every case. And important to say here is it can cause some strong side effects, like obesity and all kinds of other problems. So a medical specialist must, of course, monitor it closely. In some literature, you've seen some literature reviews as well, so I will not bother you a long while with this, but aripiprazole and risperidone combined with haloperidol, clonazepam seems to be partly effective as well in literature. And for the people who are familiar with clozapine, we see that the switch to clozapine with olanzapine is only partly effective, can be beneficial as well, also in the case when olanzapine causes too many side effects. General recommendation, of course, according to the psychosis guidelines here in the Netherlands, is to, when somebody has been stable for 2 years of functioning, you must try to slowly lower and, if possible, stop the medication. All these recommendations are also present in the newly published International Clinical Evidence-Based Guideline for Kleefstra Syndrome. It's very interesting to look it up, and can be a backbone of Kleefstra syndrome treatment in the clinic. And this is also, if you want to do some more further reading on the olanzapine trial and get more into astrocytes, you can also look up this paper, the astrocytes contribute to olanzapine-mediated reversal of Kleefstra syndrome associated neurodevelopmental regression. And, well, I would say that you will hear more about astrocytes and more about the guideline later on in Jitke's work, and I think across this summit. So, Kleefstra syndrome. We've now, hopefully, with a couple of years of my studies, moved towards understanding this developmental regression, and we hope to move towards more personalized therapies. I will sort of briefly mention this part. There are 2 slides made by Caroline Vermeulen, and she always mentions this in regards to family functioning, because she saw that in an early sample of her studies that 1/3 of her families had signs of unhealthy stress, and 1/3, which is higher than most other cohorts that she checked regarding childhood illnesses, like families who had a child with diabetes or ADHD without intellectual disability. So a general the thought of this to the families, of course, is to take care and to take good care of yourself and each other, and ask for help. You have, of course, a lot of communities doing lots of work, and it's always good to, if you have a family with somebody with Kleefstra syndrome, to refer them to one of those communities. And of course, be proud of everything you do 24/7, as a researcher, but also as a family member. I want to thank all these people who worked with me the last couple of years. It's good to see, to be in this summit and see a couple of familiar faces and familiar names. And of course, I want to thank all the patients that were so kind to get themselves assessed in regards to this research. And of course, I want to thank you all.